So we're also going to be canning up some ground beef, and we'll also be making some chili. Hi friends, welcome back to Tony Renee at Home. Hey, you want to know what I do to beat the rising meat costs? From everything that I've seen on Google, from all of the news stories that I've heard, the news articles that I've read, prices aren't going down anyway soon. In fact, they are predicting that they're going to go up. So what do? Let me show you. You asked for it. That's right, we're canning beef chunks today. So let me put the camera down here on the top of the island and let's take a look at what I'm doing. So I went to Sam's this morning and picked up this, what even is it? It's a beef bottom round roast. And it is 4.74 pounds, so almost 5 pounds. It was $4.48 a pound. And I paid $21.24. You can see that or not, that's what I paid, $21.24. And so what I do, I buy all the meat I can afford right now, and I get it processed, whether that is in the freezer or in the canner. And this is going in the canner because you wanted to see some meat canning. You wanted me to show you or teach you how to do this. So that's what I'm doing. I should have cut this off first. Actually, I think it is easier to cut it off after it's in smaller pieces. I do cut off as much fat as possible, and definitely any gristle that I might come across. This is the sharpest knife I have, so it takes me some time. They do have a big sealed package of beef that's twice the size of this and twice as much. And that's usually what I buy. But I have decided, because I did this a couple of weeks ago, and I actually started recording that for you, and I don't know what happened to the footage, or I would already have this video out there for you. But I was fighting that thing, trying to cut all the fat off. There was a bunch of fat that was in the meat and gristle, and y'all, your time is money too. And so I yeah, I'm going to cut this off when I cut them in strips. I just decided that to save myself some time and headache, because I do not have really good knives, I'm just going to buy it this way. Much easier to cut that off after I've cut this in slices. Okay. So I am using the recipe from the National Center for Home Canning. I think I said that right. For home food preservation is actually what it is. That's the instructions that we're using. And all it says is to put your meat in your jars. Do not add water. You can add salt if you want, and then you process it. So I am going to get this cut up, get this fat cut off the bottom, and just start putting it in my jars. Now, one thing that I do love to do when I'm canning is get everything ready. So it's all right here at my fingertips. My canner's on the stove. It's already got the 2 to 3 inches of water in it. I've got my salt here. This is canning salt that I'm using today. I have vinegar and some paper towels over here off to the side. And instead of using ball jars today, I'm using Forjars canning lids. You want to know why? Like I was saying, I just canned some meat a couple of weeks ago, and I used my ball lids because I was going to try to work through those before I started using my Forjars. I had 3 of them on my very expensive meat, not seal. So what happens when you have 3 jars of meat that don't seal? Well, you have to have something like beef vegetable soup or beef stew or beef tips and rice or whatever. You have to come up with something to use those 3 jars. So guess what? We were so busy last weekend, I forgot about them in the refrigerator, and they're still there. So I will not be eating them. However, they are not going to waste still. I'm going to put it in the freeze dryer, and I'm going to freeze dry it for some dog food. So win-win. The dogs will be happy. That's an awful big chunk of meat left on there. Okay, just going to put that right on down in that jar. All right, this is getting a little awkward for me to continue cutting, so I'm just going to start putting some chunks of beef in my jars. Y'all, it is so hot here. It's 99 right now, and it is almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's still 99. Now, I know my uncle lived in Scottsdale, Arizona for years, and I stayed with him when it was 116. I live in the Midwest. It's not the same type of heat. Here, when it's 105, me with asthma, I cannot breathe. And because our humidity is ridiculous. Now, I do not push or stuff the meat in the jar. I don't want to do that. But I am, as I put it in there, trying to fill up holes. See, there's quite a bit of a hole down there, and I'm just trying to fill that in, is all I'm doing. I'm just rearranging pieces is all I'm doing. So I'm just going to continue to cut this meat and put it in my jars as I cut it, and every once in a while, after I put a few chunks in there, just going to rearrange it to fill in holes. Again, not cramming it down in there. You don't want to do that. That's not safe. You need to allow, it might not get processed in the middle. Okay. I'm cutting these in about 1-inch pieces, because when this comes out of the canner, it's going to be cooked. That's why I love having this on hand. Now, some of you also asked for me to fix convenience foods. Well, I got you covered too, because I bought 2 of these. And the next thing we're going to make is beef stew. So I got 1 of these to can just the beef, and I got 1 to can you some beef stew and show you how to do that. Because I love you guys. You've been good to me, and I want to give you what you asked for when it comes to these canning videos. Okay, we are going to leave 1-inch headspace, so I'm going to start on another jar. And we're just going to keep going until all of our jars are filled. I don't know what I was thinking. That 1 little chunk of beef was not going to fill this canner. And I knew that. I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't, clearly. So I had to go get the other one that I had bought for the beef stew. And that's okay. I did forget something at town, so I'll just run back and get another chunk of beef. Okay, I am not going to force these down in these jars because, like I said, you want to fill big air pockets. There's going to be air pockets. No, I think that's too much. But basically the the meat is loose. So I think we're good. I might even take another piece out of that one, because you want this meat to be able to process. Okay. I'm not debubbling, I'm just moving the meat around, making sure it's not all crammed down in there and stuck together. Okay. So I only got 6 jars out of both of those pieces of meat. Now I'm going to wash my hands. Moving on. Next thing I'm going to do is I do salt mine. You can choose to leave it just like this and salt it as you cook it, but I am going to salt mine because I think that flavor gets down in the beef, and the salt helps preserve, helps flavor. So this is a half a teaspoon. Whoops. So I'm just making it rounded. If these were pint jars, it would be a half a teaspoon. If these were quart jars, it would be a teaspoon. So I'm just doing a heaping half teaspoon. Okay. Whoa, about dropped that. I forgot to pour my vinegar in my bowl. And I have a couple of paper towels ready because this is meat. It's fatty, and I know that I touched the edges. When I was putting this meat in. Guys, we all have to be doing something. I should be turning this over. I should not be using the same spot like I did on this jar, but it's okay. There wasn't anything on there. We should all be putting food up somehow. If you don't know how to can, I highly recommend you learn, because even the federal government, trust it if you will, don't trust it if you don't, but I do believe them when they say that we haven't even seen the beginning of it yet. It's only just beginning, actually, is what I heard. Okay, like I said, I'm using my Forjars. Got them off of Amazon, I'll link them below. You know who I do trust? The farmers. And I'm gonna do another video on something that I heard. It will just be a talking video, but it's very important information about what's going on now and what will be going on later. Okay, look at this. Look at the difference in these. These jar, or these lids, are a lot thicker than the ball lids. The gasket is a ton thicker than ball lids. Okay, set those to the side. Like I said, instructions in the book say do not add water. Tight. Finger tight. Hey, that turned my lid around. That's not lined up. Has to be lined up. Can't even hardly see that emblem. Okay. Let's go to the canner. Let's all go to the canner. Let's all go to the canner. Let's all go to the canner and can ourselves some beef. All right. I do not like that my canner isn't full. And if I weren't doing the video for you, I'd probably put beans in here because they process at the same time. Okay. Gonna get it turned on. Get the lid lined up. Tighten down. Alrighty. Oh, it is not on right. That's why that... There we go. That's why that didn't want to fit. That side wasn't hooked. Okay, not tight, just holding the toggles up there. This is a brand new lid. I've said before this was my aunt's canner, but she had the petcock on here, and I don't know how to use that. Not that I couldn't learn, but learning how to can freaked me out enough. I know how you feel. I know where you're coming from. Okay. Ow! Lid is tightened up. What do we do next? Do you remember? If you've watched my how to can video, we let this come up until it is venting. And then how long do we vent it? If you said 10 minutes, you're right. Okay, I'll see you back here when this is doing its thing. Hey, I wanted to hop on here real quick and say too, you asked me to do the beef chunks. You've asked me to do the convenience foods. So we're doing the beef chunks today, or you asked me to can meat. So we're doing the beef chunks today. We're doing the beef stew next, after I buy another thing of meat. And then also when I was in at Sam's today, I bought one of those great big tubes of ground beef that they have. So we're also going to be canning up some ground beef, and we'll also be making some chili. So go ahead and subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss those videos. And if you're liking this kind of thing, really, this is not just a call to action for you. Seriously, if you're liking these videos, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, because it really helps me and my channel, yes, because it puts my channel out there. And by putting the channel out there and these videos out there, then other people who don't know how to can are getting to see this in their recommended or their suggested. Okay, so subscribe, ring that bell so you know when the videos come out. Give me a thumbs up. Did I really just go on camera? Sorry. Okay, we're venting and spitting, so it is time to set the timer for 10 minutes. We always vent for 10 minutes. As soon as that's done, I'll be back. Time's up. All right, time to put the weight on. I'm below sea level, so I'm 10 pounds. You will have to find out what yours is supposed to be, what your sea level is. And when this starts doing, I'll come back. Because this is free online, I do not mind showing it to you. This is what we did with our chunks of meat. We did the raw pack, teaspoon of salt per quart. We did pint and a half. I did not have hot jars because I did not have hot water in my canner and my meat was cold. Anyway, fill jars with raw meat, leaving an inch headspace. Do not add liquid. You can do this if you want. I did not. Anyway, this is the book we used. The Complete Guide to Home Canning, the USDA. Anyway, I opted to order the already printed version. You can get this online, print it out yourself, take it somewhere and have it printed, like Staples or whatever. And this is, like I said, this is free online. This is free online, this is free online. I don't know why I keep saying that over and over and over, but this is free online. Recommended process time for strips, cubes, chunks of meat in a dial gauge pressure canner. Same thing. In a weighted gauge pressure canner. Well, you saw me just put the weight on there. So clearly we have a weighted gauge canner. And we have pint and a half. They're not pints, so this would not be enough time to process a pint and a half. So we have to process as if they were quarts. So we're going to process for 90 minutes, an hour and a half. We're jiggling, and I did forget to turn that down to 4. But we're only just a tad bit above 10. That will come right back down. I am going to set this timer for 90 minutes, and I will see you in an hour and a half. "90 minutes is up." So, reach around there, turn that off, and all we do is turn off the stove and leave it alone until the pressure drops from 10 pounds back down to 0. And you leave it alone, you do not touch it until that goes back down to 0. And then I'm going to wait 5 minutes after that comes down to 0 before I even touch the lid. Our 5 minutes is up. So I am going to take these toggles off. I'm gonna grab a hot pad and let the rest of that pressure release. I'm gonna just take my lid and set it cockeyed on the canner for 10 minutes. And then we'll take them out. Okay, let's get these out of the canner. Now, sometimes I wait 5 minutes, sometimes I wait 10 minutes, but it's cold in the house because it's so hot out there, outside. So that's might be kind of an extreme shock for the jars. That's why I left them in there longer. Okay. These smell so good. Now, the jars, or I'm sorry, the bands may be a little loose. Do not tighten them up. Just leave them alone. That's natural. You don't want to tighten them back up because it could give you a false seal. Don't set your jars right close together. You want to give them some room to cool off for that airflow so they can cool off. and lift them straight up out of the jar. Do not tilt them sideways to try to get any water off the top. This one was a little loose. This one's a little loose. Don't try to tighten that up, just leave it alone. Okay, we're done until in the morning. I will let these set here and cool off. It looks like they've already all sealed, so thumbs up for Forjars. You can see that it's boiling in there. The broth that the beef made, the natural broth, because we didn't add anything, is boiling inside the jars. Also natural. It's fine that it's not filled all the way to the top with its own broth. That's fine. You followed all the directions. So we're good to go. These will set here until in the morning. We'll take these bands off, give the jars a good wash, because if there was any siphoning, these can be a little greasy. You don't want to put them up that way. So we'll give them a good wash in a soapy vinegar bath. Label what they are. I usually label the month and the year, and I'll just put beef on it. I can tell it's chunks, and put it on my pantry shelves. So easy peasy. I promise you can do this. I hope this was clear enough that you could understand. If not, if you have any more questions, be sure and leave them down below. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, ring that bell so you'll know when all the new videos come out. And I will see you when we make our beef stew, right? All right. God bless.